Saloon Sally's and Grog Shop Greg's. Pull up a sticky naga-hide stool. Order a pint of filth and a penicillin chaser. And, frankly, my dear, I don't give a dram.
Yeah, I'll have Tom Collins, please. What do you mean you don't know how to make a Tom Collins? Oh, fine, I guess I'll just talk Tull to me. Nobody knows how to make Tom Collinses anymore, and it's very upsetting.
I don't know what a Tom Collins is.
Oh, it's so good. It's basically like a ginny lemonade. It's got lemon juice in it. It's got sour mix and gin. I think that's basically it, but it's that was like the first alcoholic drink I ever had.
Nice.
It's very good. I love a good Tom Collins.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this, my little maraschino cherries, is Talk Tull to Me.
A boozy cruisy through the single malt seas of prog rock in which just a nip of Nick McGill and courageous liquid Omen Thomas Sade will attempt to quench our terrible Tull thirst by quaffing down each and every hot toddy of a track that rim-salted rock band Jethro Tull have ever jiggered neatly into the ice shaker of popular consciousness. We will add just a dash more of David Pegg, mull over Martin Barr's bourbony blend, ignore the proof rating on Doane Perry's drumming, and add an Andrew Giddings garnish because, you drink with your eyes first. And if we can keep one step ahead of the prog prohibitionists, double strain our credulity, and maintain our spirits at least 20% of volume, we may one day touch our lips to a sip of that fifth of flute fizz. The sour mix Scotsman, the reposado rocker, the digestif of the dotted quarter note, Ian the Angel's Share Anderson.
Nice.
A little bit of Ian evaporates every time they make a record. That's the Angel's Share.
Yeah, just enough.
Yeah.
And that's why he's getting more and more condensed.
That's right.
And bitter and concentrated as the albums get along.
More flavorful. Exactly.
Yes, correct. Yeah, eventually you're going to have to just dissolve him in pure alcohol, and he'll be delicious.
Yeah. Nick, welcome back to the podcast. This is a momentous day for us. We are finishing up the final track, the post-penultimate track of Roots to Branches.
That's right. Final track number 11 on Roots to Branches. We are talking another Harry's Bar today. Very exciting. As you alluded, Peggy is back for one more go.
This is our last taste, last train to Peggy Town.
Our last taste of Peggy, and it tastes so good.
It does. Before we dive into the song, we do have a little quip, a little blurb from Mr. Ian Anderson, selected from the intro to Roots to Branches in the book Silent Singing, which if you haven't already purchased to grace the shelves of your Tull library, you should.
It's one of the better ones to get. Yeah.
It's very straightforward. I like that it's just basically the lyrics and then some great cool
cotton balls.
Some cottony balls. Those are the most cottony balls I've ever seen. Since I made love to the Velveteen Rabbit.
And I've been staring at balls for 80 years.
Of Another Harry's Bar, Ian says, my favorite, Another Harry's Bar, is the setting of another ubiquitous institution. Supposedly, Harry's Bar originated in 1931 in a Venice hotel. Named after a visiting American benefactor, it became legendary as a watering hole before the name was purloined and exploited in pretty much every city in the world, from Mumbai to Helsinki.
And that's it.
That's it. And that was Christopher Lee as Ian Anderson.
That was Matt Berry playing Christopher Lee.
Performing in a community theater production of Jethro Tull, the 90s.
That's great, yeah. Quick little context, there's a Harry's Bar in Syracuse, New York.
Yeah.
It's the #1 sports bar for Syracuse University students and fans alike. That's great.
Uh-huh.
But the Harry's Bar is the home of the Bellini and Carpaccio, Harry's Bar is also famous for its dry martini, which is served in a small glass without a stem. Their dry martinis are very dry, apparently with the ratio of 10 parts gin to 1 part vermouth.
Could be even drier.
Just hold the vermouth bottle near the gin.
I've actually seen the really nice way to make a dry martini is you take the martini glass, you pour in the vermouth, you swish it around, and then you pour it all out.
And then you put in the gin.
And then you put in the gin.
Yeah, that's pretty dry.
That's pretty dry.
Yeah.
Let's listen to the song, and then we can talk more about Harry's Bar and also Harry's Bar. Nick.
Omen,
Harry's Bar. Another Harry's Bar.
would you go to Harry's Bar?
You know, actually, I was invited to Harry's Bar once.
Were you really?
Yeah, so you mentioned that historically Harry's Bar is a place in Venice where they invented the Bellini. Mm-hmm. And a Bellini is just Prosecco with peach puree.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, you'd like it, but you can make it anywhere. It's not like a complex thing to make. When I was studying in Italy, we went to Venice for a week, and somebody was like, we're all going to try these famous drinks called Bellinis. They cost 18 euros each, and it's impossible to get in. And I was like, I think I'm going to pass on that.
And you never saw them again. They never made it back.
I never saw them or their damn Bellinis. So I have sort of crossed paths, I suppose, with Harry's Bar. But no, I've not been.
So the answer is you would not go to Harry's Bar.
I didn't.
Sam, I am. Yeah.
Just interesting kind of following that train. So you mentioned it was founded in 1931 in Venice by Giuseppe Cipriani.
Bellini.
Who Giuseppe Peach Juice.
Which translates in American to Bellini.
Yes, that's right. That's right. He was inspired by a young Bostonian named Harry Pickering, who was a frequenter of the Hotel Europa, where Giuseppe Cipriani was a bartender. And Pickering stopped coming, and eventually Giuseppe ran into him and was like, hey man, what's going on? And he was like, oh, my parents found out that I'm a drinker and they've cut me off, so I don't have any money. So Giuseppe loaned him 10,000 lira, which is about $7,000.
Wow.
And said, I'll take care of you. 2 years later, Harry came back and said, thank you so much for the loan. Here's your 10,000 lira. And here's 40,000 more. Let's start a bar. We call it Harry's.
Wow. They got married the next year.
So because of the invention of the Bellini, that bar became very popular, remains very popular. Anthony Bourdain said, the food's good, the Bellinis are mediocre, everything is expensive. It's Venice. What do you want?
God, I love that man.
Yeah. The interesting thing that seems to have happened is that the Cipriani brand became a brand over the course of decades and started expanding. Harry's Bar became a really popular hangout spot for some celebrities. Humphrey Bogart, Ernest Hemingway, drinkers, cats like that. So they leveraged the success and the kind of fame of that bar and started making international copies of it. So there's, as Ian mentioned, there's one in London, there's one in New York. There probably are more of them.
They franchised.
Exactly. And it's all now part of this Cipriani brand, which has other dining and drinking establishments across the world.
Very cool.
So that's that. Musically, what has Ian decided that this thing sounds like?
If I had to describe it, do I have to describe it?
It is sort of your job.
Oh, I guess. There is a level of nostalgia.
Yeah.
There is hope.
Yeah.
There's maybe a little anger.
Yeah, or disenchantment, maybe.
Yeah. And then there is acceptance. It's all the stages.
It's all the stages of grief.
Yep.
Brought to you by a disgruntled Scotsman.
Just wanting to visit Harry's Bar.
Interestingly, if you compare this to some of the other tracks on the album, Harry's Bar drops in with the piano, the bass, the acoustic guitar, probably the drums, all on the very same first note.
Yeah.
We're in it. Dum, ba-da-dum. And then we add in some keys and some flutes, stir it gently so as you don't bruise the
Peach juice.
The peach juice. My peach is juicy.
Ian said this is a favorite of his.
Yes, he did.
That kind of does not surprise me. I can't put it to words, but it just makes sense.
I've noticed that Ian really likes the songs where he plays acoustic guitar.
I like the songs where Ian plays acoustic guitar. It's amazing.
You have that in common.
Yeah.
Well, and you can tell that when he's playing the acoustic guitar, he's like, ah, yeah.
I mean, it's very good.
It's awesome. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think there's an element to that. The acoustic, he's both riffing and playing chords at various times. So it feels very personal.
Yeah. So this being a favorite, how many times do you think this has been played in concert?
Twice.
Goose egg.
Zero. What?
0. Yep. I did not see it on my thing. Unless it was some renegade show that has not been documented somewhere. It has not been played.
See, the thing is, Ian likes to listen to the song, but he hates crying in front of thousands of people, so he'll never play it for anyone.
That's it. It's embarrassing. You would think he'd get over it by now, but no.
Some people get drunk on alcohol. Ian gets drunk on the power of the emotions created by his own music.
He's definitely drunk on power. That's why he's a teetotaler. Doesn't need anything else.
It's interesting. Yeah, so there is something that's throwing me off about this, about the fact that Ian Anderson has written a very affectionate song about a drinking establishment. Like, there's something that's like, I'm having a little bit of dissonance in my mind about this.
Well, I mean, he's never said he doesn't drink. Right? Like he'll have a pint every now and then, right? Or he used to.
Sure.
It was just like recreational drugs and overdoing the drinking. I think that was really the thing that he avoided. I could be wrong, but
no, I think you're spot on there. And the focus, when we get into the content, the focus of the song is not on the drinking aspect of the bar. It's about the community aspect of the bar.
Yeah.
I noticed that the silences and the cutoffs of instruments are extremely intentional in this song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if there's just a fraction of a beat, that beat is completely silent. There's no bleed over from the cymbals. Mm-hmm. One note ends before the next note begins if they're making a transition.
Right, no reverb, nothing.
Right, yeah. It's less reverby. It's still warm, got that warm live sound.
But it's clean.
It's so clean.
Yeah.
You could eat a sandwich off this song.
You could eat a sandwich off of Harry's Bar. I wouldn't.
You could chew on Harry's Bar.
Yeah.
If you lost your sandwich. There's just one moment that I find is so interesting. At just about the 1 minute mark, Andrew Giddings plays a pretty nice keys riff. Mm-hmm. And the last single note of it is Martin Barr playing one note on the guitar. It's so smooth. I almost didn't clock it at all that there was a change of instrument there.
Yeah. Peggy is on stand-up bass for this one.
He sure is, and you can feel it.
Very standy-uppy. It's great. I love it. Are you getting a little Dire Straits from this?
You know, I didn't make that connection. I think I can see what you mean. Mm-hmm. I was actually getting a little bit more just with the piano and the acoustic bass and the warmth of the song. I was getting a little Billy Joel's Piano Man.
Oh.
Not really stylistically, but just kind of like that feeling of familiarity and warmth that's conveyed through the instruments.
Yeah, I see that. I think Piano Man is friendlier, is a little more approachable.
Absolutely.
Sonically.
Yeah.
This one has like this underlying darkness that is perfectly Ian.
When you're driving up to this song, there are big warning signs saying road out.
Right.
No gas for the next 60 miles. Turn back.
And yet we drove. We drove on and we encountered it.
And yet here we are. At about 1:35, there is an interesting change to the sound. The sound undergoes a couple of different thematic changes as we go. We have the initial one, which is sort of like the do 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 boom do do do, that kind of dark, mournful, sentimental sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we get into Another Harry's Bar, we get that more kind of driving bum bum dum dum ba da 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 da, adding in the synth and drums there.
And then that has my favorite little sound turn, and me and the dog and the ghost of Harry. Just like really quick, and then it slows back down again. That's just such that part really tickles me. It's so good.
A little outburst of genuine joy.
Yeah, and then he tamps it back down.
Yep.
Not too much.
But me and the dog and the ghost of Harry will make this world turn right. It'll all turn right.
At 2:35, there is, I think, leading into one of those sounds, one of those themes, there is a nice flute transition that kind of transitions us into those halcyon days of yore type feeling.
That's our bridge, I think, at about 2:30.
Mm-hmm. Quite brief.
That's the Now When Harry Was a Young Man. I believe Harry was so debonair.
Yes. You're right.
It'll all turn right. Now when Harry was a young man, Harry was so debonair.
At 4:45, we have a kind of a false ending.
Yes. Yeah, it could very easily and comfortably end there with the acoustic fading out. Done.
Yeah.
But then we get this massive buildup after it that is about a minute and a half.
Kind of the rest of the song almost.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I'm glad that we have it there because it brings us a reminder that this is a rock and roll album. That last minute and a half or so is rock. It's rock. It rocks.
And it's a rock and roll album that they wanted to sound live, and that is a hell of a closer for a live song.
It is.
Yeah.
Much more so because there's that ending. I think if it ended on that acoustic wind down, it would be very emotional, but a little less satisfying, a little less rock.
Yeah. And that last minute and a half, it's not a fade out. It's a bump. It's a button.
Yes.
It's the perfect ender for the show. I like it.
Did you say for this show?
For the show, like for a live show, I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. For the show that is this album.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, I think it's a lost opportunity that they didn't play this live, but it is a bit of a downer. Even the peppier parts, it's still a bit of a downer.
Who knows all the reasons that a song makes the live set list or doesn't make the live set list?
There have to be so many.
So many reasons, so many competing reasons. Who can even remember them all?
Ian can. Yeah.
My list of reasons. Chapter 1. Secret reasons.
At the end of that bridge, when we have, you want to hear some great news? Harry's still here. The whisper.
You want to hear some great news? Harry's still here.
I was just taking a sip of water, almost lost it. I forgot that was there. It's a bit...
Uh-huh.
I don't want to say silly, but it kind of pulled me out of it.
There's a level at which sentimentality can veer over into ridiculousness.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason that I struggle to listen to too much music that's really sentimental. A lot of country song, like, you know, the song, Jesus Take the Wheel.
I don't actually know that song.
Jesus, take the wheel.
It's so, I mean, it's a country song that is very much in the modern country tradition of let's just make it more sentimental than anyone could possibly have business doing.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I have a really hard time taking that seriously. This song does alert my sentimentality flags, but not to the degree where it necessarily becomes laughable for me.
It's close.
It's close.
If he had gone any step beyond that whisper, I think it would be tipped over into that.
If he'd finished it by saying, "Hey, Santa, pass us that bottle, will you? Oh, you're not Santa Claus. You're Harry. He's still alive.
Oh, Harry.
Oh, Harry, pass me Santa's bottle.
That, I think, would have been great.
Harry, spank me. I've been a naughty Christmas boy." Something like that.
Yeah, something, yeah.
And it's worth reminding ourselves that this type of sentimental song has a place in the world. There are people who love it.
Sure, of course.
Ian Anderson, for instance.
Yeah, clearly labeled a favorite.
So, I really don't have that much more to say musically. I lie. One thing that I noted is that I think Don Perry is playing the cymbals with a brush.
He's brushing it. Yep. I did notice that. Yeah.
And there is something about that, like the brushed cymbals, the acoustic bass, the acoustic guitar. It feels like you're in Harry's bar. It feels like you're in this old bar listening to a story about a bar. And that is really effective.
Yeah, agreed. It does build an environment that we don't normally hear in Tull. And it is effective. Yeah.
We've heard it before, but not in this way recently.
Yeah. I mean, we've cottoned on to the stand-up bass a couple of times. I could not tell you the last time I heard a brush on cymbals, though.
After listening to this song, I had to hang my jacket out in the open air to get the cigarette smell out of it.
Yeah.
It just permeates.
It comes right out of the speakers.
Yeah. Oh no, my speaker's on fire. Nick, welcome to the half.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I will have you here, there, and everywhere to talk about reviews for Roots to Branches.
Roots to Branches. Did they like it? Did they not like it? Will Stephen Peacock write back to me?
As is typical for the last number of albums, it's really hard to find like official reviews for this. I think this is also kind of the story of the times, that the nature of music reviews changed. Anyway, did find an allmusic.com review for this album that was written at some point.
Time means nothing on the internet.
I think that might be true. So this is the Roots to Branches review by Bruce Eder, that I originally read as Bruce the Elder. This mid-90s Tull studio album has its good moments, mostly shadows of earlier work. This is the thing that pisses me off, is that Tull reviewers compare it to earlier work.
Always.
I understand that you have to do that,
Yeah.
but also I think that there is, whatever, they don't see it as its own thing.
Yeah.
All of the songs here have more of a mood of urgency than some of Tull's then recent albums, and a few even have memorable melodies. The title tune, At Last Forever, which sounds like a Thick as a Brick outtake, Rare and Precious Chain, Dangerous Veils, and Valley, which recall the best moments of Ian Anderson's mid-70s work. Those are the ones that have memorable melodies.
Gotcha.
Really could have been two sentences. There are also attempts to revive the band's one-time fixation on jazz influences, the opening of Wounded, Old, and Treacherous, although this sort of thing came better off on This Was. Anderson's flute occasionally takes flight, Martin Barr's guitar still wails on the breaks, and Don Perry drums, Dave Pegg bass, and Steve Bailey bass make up a decent rhythm section, not nearly as strong as Catfish Rising, but better than anything else since Heavy Horses. Well, Bruce Eder, on this 2.5-star review, I give you a 1-star review for the review. I think it's its own thing. I think, yes, of course, it's making reference to older albums, but you can't say, oh, this is this version of stand-up. No, this is this version of Roots to Branches.
Yeah, it's 30 years later.
Yeah, get over it.
Yeah. That's kind of what I expected.
Yeah.
And you know, Bruce the Elder is not the only one with that opinion, though. I mean, this is a rather maligned album.
It's just so odd, though, because it is so strong. if you're looking at this album from the perspective of this is a rock and roll album, I don't think you can come to any conclusion except this is a dope rock and roll album.
Right.
If you listen to this album and you're like, I'm going to judge this on whether or not it's the album Aqualung, then no, you're going to rate it poorly because it's not Aqualung.
You'll be disappointed, yes.
Yeah, because spoiler alert, that's a different album.
Or even that you can compare anything to a specific era of Tull.
Exactly, because Tull follows a nonlinear timeline.
Correct, they do.
Off of the Sputnik Music website, which allows anyone to review anything,
Oh, great.
I found this 4.5 star review by someone called Jethro 42. So possibly already a fan, but I guess that's okay.
Yeah, slightly biased.
They say, regarding the whole Jethro Tull discography, something stable is easily retractable and unifying, the Western concert flute of Ian Anderson and his charismatic yet contagious personality. Okay. His sense of leadership leads him to mimic a chef d'orchestre at every opportunity. Jethro Tull are awesome live. Yep, fine. He then reviews every album that they've ever released.
So Jethro Tull got a 4.5, the band.
Yeah. Album Roots to Branches is consistent and each song flows into the next. Jethro Tull have molded their old British folk song into a delectable Middle Eastern vibe, especially on its first half. Yep. Nothing really that exciting or unique in here. And then the comments are ridiculous.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Anyway, some people like it, some people don't like it. I think that as we go further and further on, I'm starting to recognize that maybe our review is more relevant than anyone else's.
We are the only one to listen to when it comes to Jethro Tull.
We'd like to show you our peacock, our Stephen Peacock.
Well, that was it for reviews. That was thrilling and anticipated. Let's go to the last bit of our German tour program. This is the second page of Jonathan Neuss. This is his suitcase here. Luggage type Globetrotter traditional fiber case. No wheels, no passengers, no spitting. Don't know what that means. Inside, swimming trunks, very handy for swimming in. Monkey outfit, useful for pretending to be a monkey in and scaring people in roadies' hotels with. Underwear, wear these under other things. Chef's trousers, not really chef's trousers, but expensive imitations. Camera. Coconut, well, I thought that everyone had them. CD player for plane journeys and quiet moments to oneself in hotel rooms. Trainers. Pickled onions to satisfy those peculiar cravings. Hat for head. Tickly makeup brush. Strings, bass guitars need these. Paper to keep up to date on what happens in the world. Washing bag, toothpaste, razor, etc. for attempts at cleanliness. And that's it.
Pretty straightforward.
Concise.
Just some clothes and some bass strings. Sounds like a bassist.
Yeah, that's right. Key to girlfriend's apartment. Oh, okay. There's also a potato masher. There is a ruler. Very strange.
So Neuss
strange.
was who will eventually replace Dave Pegg on the next album.
Yes, and he was on the tour with them.
And he was on the tour, yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So Jonathan Neuss writing about another Harry's bar. If you are the type of person who, once in a while, likes to take off on his heels and stroll, be it in town or valley, and ponder on life's curious paths, then this is a song for you. As the lyrics suggest, this is exactly what this song is about. Picture this. A man is walking the streets of a city, hands in pockets, when he stumbles upon a desolate, smoky bar where he settles for the evening, pouring his heart out into a whiskey tumbler. A very simple, slightly romantic scene straight out of a cop series coming soon to a television near you. Musically, the accompaniment is as visual as the lyrics are. You can almost see the band on the stage through the smoke of the bar with their double bass, piano, guitar, and Doan with his brushes.
That's what we said.
Bang on what you just said. Yep. The arrangement is, as ever, impeccable with splendid sterling supportive roles from Doan, Andy, and Martin. But it is the instrumental outro where things really come to a head with its rising organ motif running hypnotically throughout, giving ground for the melodic and rhythmic lines which flow over its edges. Melodic conversation is exchanged between Ian, Martin, and Andy, with Doan giving a kick up the backside, musically speaking, that is. How very pleasing. Jonathan Noyce.
I love that we've been having these little band member write-ups of the song because
Yeah.
it is, on the one hand, confirming what we knew, which is that the members of Jethro Tull are all really freaking intelligent people
Yes. Yeah.
and have a way, have a real deep appreciation of the work that they're doing. They're not just stick slammers and string hustlers,
That's what they're called. Yes.
And also, it is confirming for us things that we think about the songs.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're usually pretty close, and it's usually pretty pleasing when they do kind of confirm that theory that we have. So,
Yeah. So
I'll take it.
Pat on the back to Jonathan Noyce.
Nice.
Thank you for Thank you for getting ahead of us and proving us right before we had the opportunity to not be right.
Proactively confirming our correctness 30 years before.
Why was that so much easier for you to say than me?
English major.
Nick McGill.
Omen.
No, please, you go.
Omen.
Is the seat taken?
What the heck is Another Harry's Bar about?
Well, okay. I want to take you on a journey to the past.
Please.
Get into my past machine.
The DeLorean. Yes.
Okay, here we are at the second Jethro Tull concert that you and I saw together in the early 2000s.
Yes. Here we are.
Do you recall that I was friends with a lot of the punks in those days, and so I was very like anti-capitalist, like still am, but more as a young bean then. And
Yes.
when we saw the concert, I think it was Ian who was like, in between songs, he was like, I like nothing better than when on a world tour to go to the Starbucks and have a double espresso.
Yes. Yeah.
I was so mad. I was like, that's not rock and roll. How can you go to Starbucks, man? They're a big corporation. But the more that I thought about it over the years, it has occurred to me that when you are touring the world, anything that is consistent is something that you're going to gravitate toward,
Yeah. Absolutely.
i.e. Starbucks. I wonder if there is an element of this in this song, this sense of like, oh, you go all over the world and sometimes you just want a quiet spot to sit and, oh my God, here is a Harry's Bar. I know what the experience is going to be in there.
Yeah. I wonder if Harry's Bar is metaphorical as well.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's a safe space kind of thing,
Yeah.
a comfortable space.
Yes. Kind of an all space.
The allspice.
The allspice.
You can swap it out for mace or clove, and
You
it works
can,
just fine.
which is nice. It is interesting because the way that he's describing Harry's Bar doesn't sound much at all like the historic Harry's Bar.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe it's his interpretation. Maybe it was his one experience. I think he's taking that label of Harry's Bar and then putting it on just the feeling if you find that right bar.
A fictional place, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that you're not a big barfly, and whereas I have been stuck on barfly paper for ages.
I'm a big dragonfly.
I'm a big dragon barfly. There is something, when you figure out the kind of watering hole that you enjoy, when you find one that's like that, you can very quickly identify as soon as you walk in, you're like, oh yeah, this is a good spot for me.
Yeah.
So I do think he is talking about either the general or the fictional experience of finding that comfort spot that you're talking about, that like nice spot,
Yeah.
while also making a playful reference to the historic Harry's Bar. And by making that reference, he's kind of, I think, giving the finger in a way to that capitalist repeatability of business models.
Okay.
Complex.
Yeah. Yeah, I see any bar where I can drink and look at a dog and talk to the bartender where I'm comfortable.
Right.
Whatever bar in whatever town, whatever city, whatever country, that's my Harry's bar. Your Harry's bar could be very different. Your Harry's bar has G-strings.
It's actually Harry's Bear.
Harry's Bear.
Harry's Bear Bar.
Leather. G-strings. The Harry Bear, it's called.
Oh, the Harry Bear. Yes. Oh, yeah. Actually left my credit card there last night. I got to go back.
Yeah, you got to get that back. It is your place, and it is different for everyone. My Harry's bar is a quiet cafe where I can sit and read comics
Yeah.
and drink coffee.
Well, there is something interesting about certain types of bars. I've always been shocked to see that no matter where I go in the world, there's always an Irish bar. And they're all very similar.
Have you ever been to a bar in Ireland? Have you ever been to Ireland?
Only the airport.
Was there a bar there?
Yes.
Was it similar to any other Irish bar?
No, it was more like an airport bar.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't count. Diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, but I've been to it. I've been to an Irish bar in Venice. I've been to an Irish bar in Paris, and I don't remember a thing.
So they could all be similar. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, well, why don't we get into the lyrics?
Sure. Yeah.
Wet wind on the sidewalk, I'm staring at the rain. Walking up the street, yeah, and walking down again.
Wet wind on the sidewalk, I'm staring at the rain. Walking up the street, yeah, and walking down again.
Wow. I feel like anyone who's had the experience of having time to kill in an unfamiliar city will relate very much to this.
Yep. You've got no place to go at the moment, but the weather is crappy. So you're kind of looking for a place,
Exactly.
to kill time.
Yeah. And a bar is a great way to kill time. You go in, you have a pint, you can nurse it, you can have a chat,
Yeah.
you can get local information. It's good. You can get warm, have a bite to eat. It's a great, go to the bathroom. It's a, if you have to pass the time, you can,
Anything else you want to tack onto that list?
you can check your email if they have Wi-Fi. It's a good spot to stop.
Yeah.
He says, and my feet are tired, my brain is numb. See that broken neon sign saying, hey, in you come.
And my feet are tired and my brain is numb. See that broken neon sign saying, hey, in you come.
It's welcoming.
It's welcoming, yes.
Yeah.
My favorite bar ever was in Brooklyn when I was a gentleman boarder at the French family's house. There was a bar called the Adirondack that was literally as soon as you get out of the subway. It was an upstate New York themed bar.
I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
And I loved it. It was a small, kind of cozy spot, all upstate New York themed.
That sounds real nice.
It was great. If I got out of the train station, it was like a little cold. Any excuse, I'd be like, well, I'll just head in there for one pint. Got the scent of stale beer hanging round my head. Old dog in the corner sleeping like he could be dead. Book of matches and a full ashtray. Cigarette left smoking its life away.
Got the scent of stale beer hanging around my head. Old dog in the corner sleeping like he could be dead. A book of matches and a full ashtray. Cigarette left smoking its life away.
So we get our environment. It's a bar.
Sounds like a bar.
Yeah.
Another Harry's bar, ? Or that's the tale they tell. But Harry's long gone now and the customers as well.
Another Harry's bar. Or that's the tale they tell. But Harry's long gone now and the customers as well.
This is where I think it gets to the thing that I find interesting, the kind of mysterious crux of the song, which is that every bar has its own story.
Yeah.
And often what you see with corporate bars is that they try really hard to invent a story, and it's so clear that it's nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to an Outback steakhouse and they're like, we're in the Outback. We catch kangaroos and roast them. That's why here
In Des Moines, Iowa.
in Des Moines, Iowa.
We bring you bloomin' onions.
Yes, exactly. It's like, well, what? It doesn't have to do with anything.
Yeah.
So that for me is like, you go into the bar and you're like, oh, this place has its own lore.
Yeah, right.
Or at least they say that it has its own lore.
Yeah. So maybe even in this instance, Another Harry's Bar is not the actual franchise of Harry's Bar. It's not my bar that I'm comfortable with. It's another bar that tells me that it has this history. Another Harry's Bar, like Harry's Bar. Okay, yeah, that's the tale. Great, that's fine.
Yeah, and maybe even this place doesn't mean anything to me, but I can tell that it meant a lot to the people who were the originals here.
Right, the Harry and the customers who knew of it as Harry. Yeah,
Who are both long gone.
yeah.
And me and the dog and the ghost of Harry will make this world turn right. It'll all turn right.
But me and the dog and the ghost of Harry will make this world turn right. It'll all turn right.
Quick little Britishism there. I have heard the phrase in England, we'll go out for a couple of pints and set the world to right. We would say more in America like, we're solving all the world's problems tonight.
Yeah. And the way to solve that is by having some beer.
Is by having some beer and talking and kind of like
Yeah.
getting your feelings out, finding that common ground,
Yeah.
using alcohol as a lubricant.
Right.
So even though it's kind of this cynical, unpleasant, uncomfortable lead up with the wind and the dubious nature of the bar and recognizing that it's past its prime, there's still that sense of like, I'm still going to get it in and find that good feeling for myself
Yeah, right.
by drinking alone. God's tears on the sidewalk, it's the mother of all rain. Oh my gosh, what an amazing line.
Yeah, that's real good.
But in the thick blue haze of Harry's, you will feel no pain. Cigarette smoking. And you will feel no soft hand slipping on your knee.
God's tears on a sidewalk, it's the mother of all rain. But in the thick blue haze of Harry's, you will feel no pain. And you will feel no soft hand slipping on your knee.
No offers of sex here.
No.
This is Ian's comfortable spot. He knows as soon as he steps in here that no one is going to proposition him.
Right. Nobody talks to one another.
That's why he's here.
Yeah. He's finally found a place where some mysterious foreign woman won't hit on him.
Throw herself at him. There's a 21 and up sign on the door, so
Yeah, he's safe.
he's safe.
He's safe. He knows.
So no ballet dancer. X through.
Yep.
You don't have to pay for the memories. They will all come free.
You don't have to pay for memories, they will all come free.
Oh, that's quite interesting. I feel again that's a distinction between those bars where they're like, "Hey, here we have culture. Do a $5 pickleback shot, and a bartender will slap you across the face."
Yeah. Watch this bartender mix a drink by throwing it in the air and shaking it and dropping bottles and all that bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not a regular bar. We serve you a burger with a knife stuck into it. Look at our Edison light bulbs.
We have French fries in a tiny little basket that looks like a fry basket.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, so it seems like he's saying this is actually a real place where things really happen.
Yeah, right. There's no pretense. It's just the way it is. You walk in, you have a drink, you get secondhand smoke.
You can't say. This reminds me of a place near Mexico, New York called Lloyd's Luxury Lounge, which I'm not sure if it's still open. It's been around for a long time.
That name sounds really gross to me.
When I finally went in one time, like 10 years ago, there was a wood burning stove, but there were people in there like it was a Harry's bar as described. And the oldest, most grizzled man I've ever seen in my life was showing people something inside his jacket, and there was a big commotion.
Oh, no.
And finally, I had enough Labatt Blue to ask what was going on. He was like, "You want to see what I got in here?" And he pulled out the tiniest little kitten. And he was like, I found it in my wood pile. Put him in my jacket.
Oh my God. He's suckling off my nipple. That's so upstate. It's so wonderfully upstate.
It was that like, oh, you don't have to pay for the memories here. They come for free.
Yep. It's just all natural, baby.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have some repeat of the chorus.
One thing I want to point out, though,
Please do.
in the song, on this second chorus, he doesn't say another Harry's bar. He says, it's another Harry's bar statement.
It's another Harry's bar.
He doesn't ask. It's not a question. Yet in silent singing, it has it as a question.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then maybe there was a progression of like,
I'm walking in. Is this another Harry's bar? I'm in here. It's another Harry's bar.
yeah, what I'm struggling with here is that there's this antithetical relationship between what's described in the song and the title of the song. Another Harry's Bar, the title says to me, oh yeah, that thing that when someplace gets successful, they try to recreate it for money and it's never the same.
Right.
What he's saying is in the world of this song, Harry's Bar was a real place that he has deep affection for. And he's found a place that reminds him of that.
Right. I think they can both exist.
Can they?
I hope, because they do.
In this economy? So then we get the halcyon days of your section.
Our bridge, yep.
Now, when Harry was a young man, Harry was so debonair, he walked a bouncy step in his shiny shoes. And when Harry was a young man, he could walk on air. He mixed a mean cocktail, and he talked to you through the late news.
Now when Harry was a young man, Harry was so debonair. Well, he walked to bounce his step in his shiny shoes. Yeah, when Harry was a young man, well, Harry could walk on air. He mixed a mean cocktail and he talked you through the late news.
I have a mondegreen, a velvet mondegreen for that.
Is it a bear? Is he shaking his hair? Is it velvet mondegreen?
I heard he mixed a mean cocktail, and he talked for you to the ladies.
Wow, he's your wingman. Harry's your wingman. That's great.
Yeah. And that totally made sense for me with the picture that he's painting of him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So he's describing this person who's like the ideal bartender, the guy who, even if the bar sucked, you'd still go there to get a drink from Harry because he's just such a great guy.
Yeah. He's charismatic. He'll light your cigarette. He knows exactly what you want to drink when you walk in. It's ready for you by the time you sit down.
He's your therapist.
He knows that you like unsalted peanuts, not the salted kind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. He'll get you laid.
According to your interpretation, yeah.
According to my fantasy. Harry's Bar and Brothel.
Do you want to hear some great news, though?
I do.
Harry's still here.
You wanna hear some great news? Harry's still here.
Is that great news or is that very unsettling?
I mean,
Why is that great news? If we know that Harry's dead, why is it great news that Harry's still here?
it's the environment. It's the legacy that Harry left behind. It's the feeling of finding that place and that person to be the Harry for you.
Yes.
You can be my Harry, baby. Sorry.
Whoa, I was not. Who?
You can be my hero, baby. Is that Enrique Iglesias?
Yes, Enrique Iglesias. Wow.
Throwback. Yeah.
Hero.
Must listen to Hero.
Must listen to Enrique Iglesias.
I can be your hero, baby.
So maybe the good news is it's like the queen is dead, long live the queen. Harry's dead, and the spirit that Harry was moved by still moves in this world.
Right.
There are still people who want to create an environment that brings people together, makes them feel welcome, makes them feel safe, makes them feel like they can solve all the world's problems while drinking cheap lager.
And what Harry represents, that camaraderie, that comfortable feeling of this location that can be an escape.
Well, and, I think that there's a generational difference here.
Yes, very much.
You and I saw kind of the decline of this type of bar.
Yeah. We talked to JDA about this.
Yes, that pubs are having a difficult time staying open in Britain. I think it's a similar thing here in different ways. Drinking behaviors have changed, and the pub, the bar, the tavern, used to be the social center of a town.
Yeah.
It's where information was conveyed. It's where business happened. It's where relationships started. It's where you went when you didn't know where else to go.
Yeah. But now our generation drinks less and the internet.
And drinks at home.
And drinks at home also, yeah, because it's so much cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. So in a way, maybe what we need is like a radical return to Harry's Bar.
To cheaper beer.
Yeah.
That's the first step.
To more guarantees of sexual encounters.
I mean, if Harry were there, he would talk to the ladies for you. Because I don't like to.
Harry's Bar and dating service for people who can't make eye contact.
Perfect.
Yes, I did say dating surface.
Oh, we'll date that surface. Take that surface home to meet my parents. And then we repeat our first verse and then our chorus. And that's it. That's it.
Reminds me of this phrase that I hear entirely too much. I've never met a stranger.
You hear it strictly from pirates, though, apparently?
I used to hear it from people that I was interviewing when I would be like, how do you feel talking to other people in the role that we'd be hiring for? And they'd say, well, because they were all from Ohio, they'd be like, I never met a stranger. And I was like, that sounds bad, actually. What does that mean? You mean you've only met people that you've already met? Or that you assume everyone is your friend? Both of those are unhealthy. What the f*** are you talking about?
I know 4 people.
And they're all me.
And one of them has stabbed me.
I only stab strangers.
It's got big Cheers vibes, too.
Yes.
You know?
And I think that there used to be something to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember my mom telling me that when there used to be a really good tavern in Mexico, New York, Beck's Hotel.
I've heard that name before, yeah.
You've seen it a million times. I don't think it's ever been open in the entire time we've known each other.
Yeah.
But either when Irony was born or when I was born or when they found out that they were pregnant with one of us, my dad went to Beck's Hotel. He made a general announcement to the whole town who was there. He said, great news, everyone. We're having a son. And you can donate to the college fund or whatever. Like, that was what you did. You went down to the bar and you said, hey, great news, everybody. We're having a kid. And everyone's, oh, and they'd give you the, little extra, whatever they had. It was a community space.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. There's really something to be said about that. It's very commendable to have that. I think it's more demarcated now. It's more siloed and it's more virtual.
It is.
Too. Not to say that a group of people that you have some camaraderie with isn't as good as being at the bar with them.
Not to say that our Discord chat that you can gain access to for a mere $5 a month, you do have to pay for the memories here.
That's it.
That not to say that that isn't perhaps someone's Harry's Bar.
That's right.
That it plays that role in their life.
Yeah.
Nick, what is your Harry's Bar?
I don't know. We've always wanted like a place, Yeah, there's a really nice place in Cortland that is like a coffee place in the mornings and a bar at night.
Oh, cool.
It's really nice. The seats are uncomfortable, but I've only been there a couple of times. There's nothing that's been consistent enough for me to say, this is my place. There
is something really cozy about feeling like you are a regular at a place.
Yeah. Yeah, what about you? Do you have something down there?
I mean, the running club really is the closest thing to it in terms of actual bars. In Lakeland, it was the Parrot. And I started to feel like, oh yeah, this is my place. In Brooklyn, it was the Adirondack. In Paris, there was the bar right across the street from the school, which was like a cafe bar type situation called Morissette. And then there was a place off the street called Les Escaliers, which kind of had that effect, but also because it was so connected to the student community. Of course, the Spinning Wheel, the illegal Irish bar at Sarah Lawrence College that eventually got shut down for serving minors.
Checks out.
Yep.
Cool.
But I don't know that I've ever experienced it in the way that I think we were talking about it, where it really is that community center. I think that's really hard to find these days.
It is, unless you have nothing better to do. See, that's the thing. And I don't mean that derogatorily, but like, you do that when that's the only thing you have, right?
Well, and that's also been a societal change. I think people actually used to have more free time. Or
Yes. Yeah.
free time was prioritized to men. There was a generation or two when men only had to do their job, and that was all that was expected of them.
Right. And then they went to the bar afterwards.
To wait for their wife to make supper,
Right. Exactly.
feed the kids. Yeah, so probably a lot of cultural changes. It is interesting. I do wonder what the future of drinking establishments and community centers are, and
Yeah.
maybe just needs to be more creative and fun and maybe less alcohol focused.
Right. In Marietta, where we lived before we moved here, there was a little community center literally right next door, and they had events and stuff. And it was actually pretty nice to have that community right there.
Yeah.
And actually soccer for Rook, all of Moravia participates in this soccer.
There you go.
You know, so that's Rook's Harry's bar.
And you know what's great? Harry's still there. He's in the soccer ball. Nick, next week, what are we talking about here on the Talk Tull to Me podcast, on which we talk about Tull?
I think you will be excited. No. Because we are starting
Shut up.
jtull.com.
Yay! One of, weirdly, my favorite Jethro Tull albums.
Yeah. First song is Spiral.
Which is what I'm going to do this evening.
After I drink heavily. Until next week, I'm staring at the rain. I'm Nick McGill.
What's that soft hand slipping on your knee? Not me, Omen Thomas Sade.
We are the scent of stale beer hanging round your head, the feckless momes.
And you want to hear some great news? Talk Tull to Me is still here.
Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? All those nights when you've got no lights, the check is in the mail, and your little angel hung the cat up by its tail, and your third fiance didn't show. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.